even though I didn't, I'm going to do it anyway because every time I start, I usually don't record the prayer, but it's getting recorded this time.
Oh yeah.
So I always say a prayer before I do these podcasts, man. I know it ain't my horsepower that runs this stuff and makes our lives as good as it does. So continue to do the same thing I do as I enter into any new thing I'm doing, whether it's waking up in the morning or taking a shower. Ask your higher power to give me some help. So
Oh
if
yeah.
you will. God, God, 9, 10 guys are coming to this podcast microphones to help carry this 12-step message you've handed down here for guys just like us. We know these cool things we're getting to do and these awesome events in our lives is not an accident. That it's due to the 12 steps in you. So we just want to invite you in today to help us to say the things that need to be said, so those out there hear the things that need to be heard. Um, but we speak from our hearts and not our heads. And we'll just do our best, each one of us, to turn the wheel over to you once again, as we've probably already done many times today alone. We'll do that once more and invite your help in and ask for it. Just thank you for the 12 steps. Thank you for this wonderful, awesome, super amazing group of men you've surrounded me with. And I only ask is that you make my next steps clear to me so that I can better do your will. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Amen.
Man.
All right. Maybe I won't clip that out. Hey, everyone. This is Dan with the Spiritual Underground Podcast. As always, your host. Got a little special event over the past few years. A bunch of us has been, or various amounts, it's fluctuated, have been going to on a trip out to Colorado. And this year, 10 of us did. And I tried to do an after action report on it, uh, mainly just to share that, we talked about it. We had we had a birthday meeting last night and celebrating birthdays, and family members come in there and they feel this difference that's happening at the Spiritual Underground that I frankly just don't feel at very many meetings. And part of that, I believe, is as a result of the fact that we do things, it's just not Tuesday nights that we see each other. We're friends and we do things together, and sometimes small things and sometimes big things. And in my book, the Colorado trip is a big thing. This was my second time going, and uh, words. I look at my pictures, and they just don't, as the cliche says, the pictures just don't do it justice from like standing there. It's just not there. But we'll do our best to help you feel and absorb uh, what we absorbed over this past 10 days. Um, let's just go around real quick and do a first name introduction real quick. Uh, we'll start with Shane.
Shane Gibson, alcoholic addict, 316.
Brian.
My name's Brian. I'm an alcoholic as well, if that matters. And this was just a heads up. This was my first trip to Colorado.
Yeah. Cody.
Cody, alcoholic.
Thanks, Cody. John.
John, alcoholic. First trip also.
Derek.
Derek, alcoholic.
Vlad.
Hello, my name is Vlad, and I'm an alcoholic.
And the stuff shifted time on me, and I know I already said to Cody, and so I'm not going to introduce Travis just yet because I want to invite him in here. He's kind of the coordinator, not kind of, he is the coordinator of this trip, and the biggest reason why it happens. And so I'm going to give him a chance to introduce himself and uh, tell us a little bit about how this thing came to be and whatever else juice comes out of him while he's talking about that.
Mark
Go ahead,
here.
Travis. Oh, did I miss you? Mark, sorry. The people up there, I was trying to go by the order that they were on my screen, but then they started shuffling. So, Mark, introduce yourself, and then Travis, take over.
Mark, alcoholic.
Thanks, Mark.
Hey man, don't worry. Mark will forget that he was on this podcast a week from now, so don't worry.
Don't remind me.
What's up, guys? Travis, alcoholic. Thanks for putting this together, Dan. Yeah, man. So I guess a little background real quick is that you know, I don't know, man. You know, like I have to have cool shit to do when I get sober for me. You know, like just going to meetings or just seeing guys at meetings or whatever. Like I want to expand on that and grow on that a little bit and do. If I don't have things to look forward to in recovery, then I'm not so sure I'm going to stay sober, right? Uh, Colorado was one of those things that I used to do when I was younger. You know, pretty much from the time I was about 20 until the time I was about 35. Those 15 years, my dad and I would go out west every year together, either Colorado or Montana, and we would hunt and just explore, go into the backcountry and just do cool shit, you know. But what happened was is that the disease of alcoholism and addiction kind of took my life over, and that became more important than doing that thing with my dad that I loved so much to do. And it always makes me think of, you know, before we got so far into the disease of alcoholism or addiction, that we had hopes and we had dreams and we had things that we loved to do and we had hobbies, and maybe it wasn't hunting or going out west, maybe it was painting or playing the guitar, or but those things just kind of got put to the side, and that was what happened with Colorado. um I didn't I wasn't even physically able to go out west with my father anymore and do those things, and when I got sober it was like, man, I want to do that. Like that, I love doing that. I love going out west, and it was something that was just an idea that me and Shane kicked around on a retreat actually out at your place, um, and we started 5 years ago going out west. You know, and every year it's been new guys going, and it's been more people going, and it's just one of those things that just fills me up to get to share something that I love so much in a place that I love so much with guys that I love and respect as well. You know, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, man. Thank you. And thank you for, I remember something about you. Shane said something to you about when you get to a year sober, we'll do it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and you guys made it happen. And it's been a couple times. It's just been three of you, right? Or three times, I think, three of you. Wasn't it just you and
yes,
Vlad and
yes,
you and Shane
yep,
and Vlad once, me, you and Shane once, and then the first year was Bish and you and Shane.
yep. That's it.
So it gets a little difficult to figure out how to manage this little podcast thing. More and more, mostly just kind of want to go around and get everybody a chance to share. There may be a little bit of banter that happens, but be careful with it because it's it'll be hard for people to hear if we're talking on top of one another. I'm sure a little bit of it'll happen, and that's okay. Does anybody want to volunteer to kick it off and just talk about the trip, what it meant to you, what you did, what you like, what you didn't like, uh, what it means to your recovery, what it means to your life?
I
Somebody
don't
wants to
mind. I don't mind to start. This is
go ahead,
Brian.
Brian.
Uh, like I said, this was my first year, and I've been around you guys for 3.5, almost 4 years now, and I always heard about this Colorado trip, and seeing Travis and Shane and a couple of the other guys and Vlad come back, and they just had a different aura about them, and I was super curious, man, and especially after last year when Derek and Cody and the guys came back and they're like, dude, it's unbelievable. I can't explain it. And at that time, man, I made my mind up that I was going to do it. And so Travis is like, all right, all you people, here's the dates. You owe $50 by this certain date. And if you ain't got your $50 in, then you ain't going. Well, 2 days after it was due, I think everybody ended up paying, but I paid my $50. And I was excited. I was so excited. I was alcoholic about it with Derek, and we're like, the day that we signed up, we're in the gym every day. I'm gonna get in shape. I'm gonna I'm gonna get ready to do this trip. And we did real good for about 2 months. And boy, I'd lost some weight, and I was on that treadmill. I was killing it. And then something happened. I think I had a family emergency. I had to go to Florida, and I didn't go. And well, about 3 weeks before the trip, I got back in the gym like I was going to get ready for this, But it was.
But you made it.
What's that?
But you still made it.
Yeah, I did. So when we all met at Travis's house that morning, and I'd had nerves for about a week, man, just because the unknown, and Travis told me, he said, man, it's about 70% mental and about 30% physical. But I was just, my main goal going out there was like, I'm gonna get up that damn mountain, I'm gonna get up there. And I had some pretty good nerves about it on the way out. And to be honest with you, man, I'd hunted a million times when, before this madness stuff. And like Travis spoke of, that's something that I got away from, was the hunting and the fishing and the outdoor. And that's where I find God. And I let all that go. But as far as sleeping in a tent on a mountain, hell, I didn't even know how to set my tent up when we got up there. I was nervous. I was like, man, Travis, will you help? Vlad's like, dude, it's just 2 poles. I'm like, you don't understand. So anyway, man, we said a little prayer at the bottom of that trailhead, and we started chucking up there, man. And that first part, as everybody knows, has been up there, is tough, Jack. It's those switchbacks, and it's straight up. And I bought me a thing of that canned air at Bass Pro Shops that was going to help me, boost me up that hill. Anyway, 10 hours later, man, we made it. And if it wasn't for all these guys that went up there with me, man, and that's what this shit's about, they encouraged me. They weren't like, oh God, we got to stop again. And they're like, man, we're out of breath too. And I couldn't have made it up there without those guys carrying me, and it meant a lot to me. It really did. And I've thanked them individually during the trip and after the trip, man. It meant a lot, man. And we got up there and got settled in. And one of my what I expected out of that trip, man, was my goal was to make it up there. So I got that part out of the way. And the other one was to get closer to my higher power. And that first morning, man, it was cold. The guys got up early, like at 5 to go hunt. And I got up, made some coffee, and went and sat on this rock, man, and just soaked it all in, man. It as Dan said, dude, those pictures don't do it any justice at all. I've never felt smaller in my life. It's just it's amazing, man. And as Mark would say, it's amazing. But it was great, man. And we got to go on, I got to go up 12,100 feet. I think we made it before the quote unquote storm was coming. That was beautiful. And, the hunting wasn't so good. And I know Travis was we were all kind of afraid of that, with six dirty men up on that mountain for 5 or 6 nights. But 4 of us came down on that 4th or I think it was Wednesday or Tuesday. I don't remember, man. And Wednesday. And Travis is like, hey, man, I got this little we can go over here by the national park, dude. It's not bad. It's going to be like a day hike. It'll be real easy. Later, come to find out, he said, the only reason I asked you because I knew you were the only one dumb enough to say yes. So, and not to take anything away from that time on the mountain with all of us and stuff, but that day trip, that overnight trip, man, just me and him, it was hard. Travis and I going over these ridges and literally on our hands and feet, climbing over these ridges, man. And we got to see elk that night. Got to hear them bugle at night, and it was that full moon. And man, something just came over me, dude. And I was I don't know. I was just I was at peace. I was with my brother. And it was just awesome. And the next morning we saw that bull elk, and it just didn't turn out the way we wanted. But we trekked on out. They said there ain't no way we can go back the way we came. We'll never make it. It was too long. And so our brothers, we hollered at them, man, and they came and rescued us after trudging through all that crap. But it was hard, but I think I told Travis, man, it's like those situations forced me to be in the moment, like right now, like nothing else mattered, just the pure, and I don't want to say survival mode, but just being careful where I was walking and just being present in those moments, man, was super cool. And it was awesome, man. And the last night around the campfire when we all got to eat and share the meals and tell the stories, I was exhausted, but it was awesome, man. And I think I told a couple of the guys, man, but when we were leaving and right before we got to those big hills, going back home through the mountains, I was sitting up front in the car and uh just kind of gazing out, man. And I don't even know what song was on or something, man, but I just got overcome with emotions, and like I had a couple tears come out, man. And I was just like, wow, it wasn't sadness. It wasn't that we were leaving. It was just, I don't know, man. I was just overcome with this. I don't know what it was, man, but it was peaceful. And it was, it's hard to put into words that whole trip and that whole experience, man. And I'm forever grateful for Travis and Shane and all of you guys that started this and then invited me, and especially grateful for the 12 steps, man, because without that, none of this, I would never have seen the beauty that I saw. I would have never been able to go out there. I would never been able to afford it. I would never cared to go out there. But I've got these memories with you guys and my brothers the rest of my life, and I can't wait till next year.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. So, whoever wants to go next, keep them rolling.
Hey, I'm gonna go just because I might have to hop off early.
Good deal. Get that.
My name is Vlad, and I'm an alcoholic. This is my second time going. I skipped the year before. I got to go see my grandparents in another country. And the first time I went up, it was just Shane, Travis, and I. And I was really doing some soul searching because I wasn't sober anymore, and I wasn't sure if I was going to stay or go. Right. So I was at the precipice of maybe leaving this thing that means so much to me. And I was at that point where my disease said it doesn't mean that much. It doesn't matter. So I got to go. Got to go up there and spend the time with them. And it was just the three of us, and we hunted and we hung out. And I also did not wake up in the morning to hunt. I slept in and enjoyed that. And I got sick up there once for like 24 hours and just stayed in my tent, but it was extremely peaceful and a beautiful spot. And I love backpacking already, so I was all gun ho, but it was next level. I never spent that long of a time at such a high altitude. And the fellowship and being there with them two men just made me realize that why would you ever leave this? Why would you ever step away from something like this? Because this is what truly matters, right? These bonds, this is why I got sober initially, right? To have a beautiful life, to do things I wanted to do instead of sitting on the couch drinking and dreaming about how I want to do cool things and never putting any action behind it. And see, being up there with them two men, realized like, who else in my life cares that much about me as well, to spend this much time together, to do these adventures together. It meant the world to me. And like a lot of you know, but I never got 3 years, and I started smoking weed, and I justified it to myself that I'm still sober because I haven't had a drink since my sobriety date. So I bought myself my own 3-year coin. And to me, that was a soul searching trip. And at the end, I still didn't know, like it was so meaningful, but I wasn't ready to surrender again. And something right before we came down, because we switched campsites and another storm was coming in. And right before we came down, I said, I got to do something. And I took this 3-year coin and I put it underneath a boulder, and we came down. And then later that week, God granted me the sight of what this really was, what just even weed, right? What the addiction has taken me to, because it was it was the same thing. It was the same. It doesn't matter what substance you're using. If you're using to the point of an addict or an alcoholic, you're escaping from life. You don't want to. You forgot how to deal with life on life's terms, how to have serenity on a day to day, and you put down your tools, and that's the simplicity of it. So I got to leave that coin, and I got to pick up a new sobriety date. And then I got to see my grandparents the following year, so I didn't go. And this year was a big deal for me on a level of coming back to that place where it was almost like a mental third step. It was almost like, God, I give it back up to you. I picked it up and I tried to run my own life again, and there's no peace, there's no serenity, there's no service, there's no nothing. Nothing bad was happening, but there was no joy, right? Biting into a candy bar full of cardboard, chocolate on the outside, but nothing of substance on the inside. So the first, we got out there and I was excited for the new guys, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait for them to suffer a little bit. I don't know why, but and it was exciting. It was exciting to see them. And John and Brian, when you were going up, and Brian, you stopped and you said, hey, I'm sorry, I have to keep taking breaks. And I laughed. I'm like, motherfucker, I'm so glad you're taking so many breaks, because I need them breaks. Like, I've been training, but whew, it doesn't matter. That mountain tests you. And I got to go up there and spend time with my brothers again and just be at peace. As soon as, I go up that mountain, I'll put my phone on airplane mode. I don't want the outside world to contact me anymore. I'll let you know, Dan, when we got up there that we're safe and good. And then I'm going on airplane. And it's just like waking up, I set my tent up right into this valley where when I could unzip and start my jet boil and make my coffee and just look out as the sun rose, and not even get out of my sleeping bag and just lay there and look at this beautiful scenery. And and then we got to go get that coin. 4 of us went up there. We saw a bear. It was exciting, and I was the first one around this big boulder. And I was a little nervous. I'm like, what if it's not there? It's been 2 years. Like, I just placed it on a rock right underneath the boulder. Like, anything could have happened, right? And I'm looking for it, and I'm looking deep into it, and I can't find it. And I'm like, oh no. And I paused and I looked down, and it's right there at the edge, and you can only see the top part of the Serenity Prayer underneath the rocks. And I didn't even pick it up. I got excited. I'm like, oh, there it is. There it is. And I called Brian and Travis over. I'm like, look, it's right there. I said a prayer. I picked it up. I laid some tobacco down. And all was good. We saw all kinds of animals. We touched every single peak all around the valley. I mean, you cannot say we did not try to fucking hunt, like, because we did everything within that was possible, right? And it was 8+ miles a day too, because I was tracking it too. Maybe not full packs, but it was just amazing and serene, and the brotherhood up there.
I like that.
And then I smoke, I vape, and I didn't want to bring a vape, so I start smoking cigarettes again, and I start coughing really bad up there. And then I got kind of in my head, I'm like, fuck, I'm fucking up. Like, we're not seeing anything, and I'm coughing like a motherfucker up here. I need to go down. It's no big deal. And I made that decision, like, hey, I'm gonna go down. This has been awesome. I've had this journey. I don't want to mess anything up. I want to give the chance for the true hunters that, are going there with their rifles and everything. I'm just a meat hauler at best. That's what I was there for, right? And a couple of us came down, and I was really excited for that too, because there was a whole other group of men down at the base camp at the lake that were doing something awesome, but slightly different, where they're going on fishing trips and hanging out and going into town and going to the AA meeting, the oldest AA meeting west of the Mississippi. And I wanted a little piece of that too. And I wanted the fellowship with the guys down there too. And I got to come down and spend some awesome time with them as well. And just, having Cody cook for us and hanging out and hearing the stories and waking up early in the morning. It's cold as hell, and we can actually have a fire down there, unlike up top because of the fire ban, and just starting that fire and sitting around and making that coffee. It was amazing. I wouldn't trade it for the world, and like I wouldn't trade the men that went with me, both up and down, for the world. Because that's how we get closer. That's how we build our relationships. That's how I know the men in here have my back, and I can call any one of them and be like, "Hey, I'm going through some shit," and they will put down what they're doing, and they will listen. They will guide. They'll just be there, unlike before. So
Yeah, man.
I think that's all. That's a lot of rambling, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you, Vlad. Thank you. And just to clarify a couple things, when this trip first started, it was the people were going, the guys were going up on the mountain, uh, and that was all we were doing. But when Mark came in, and I think I'll throw it to him next. When Mark came in, he's got a big camper, so they started doing a deal where they have a base camp down at the campground down at the bottom of the mountain, and then some guys go up and some guys stay at base camp and do other things. So it really does. I totally get with Vlad. To get a piece of both of it is cool. I did the up the mountain one a few years ago, and I did the base camp one this year, and I loved both of them. So Mark, why don't you pick it up? Tell me, share your experience, strength, and hope with us about the trip.
Mark
I got you.
Alcoholic. This is my second year, and first of all, I just want to give a big shout out to Travis, of course, and Shane for the invite for the second year, and then and for the guys who went before, Dan and Vlad. But yeah, it was a great thing when Travis is my sponsor, and he first started talking about this. He says, "Motherfucker, you ain't going." I said, "Yeah, I am, man." I said, "I may not go up that mountain, but I said I'll take my campers. I'm not going to sleep in no tent." 20 years in the military, I've had my share on flat ground and worse sometimes. And I said, I just don't see myself doing that. He said, "Man, pulling that camper would be great." And that's how it kind of that's how it came about, having a base camp on bottom, and people like myself and Cody and Derek for 2 years in a row went fishing. This year, Dan went fishing with us or stayed at the bottom, and it's just it's special. But I can't imagine it. It's special in a different way for being on that mountain, and that's something I think the ones who have not been up, me, Cody, and Derek, are probably sitting all three of our minds about that's the pinnacle of it. And I've challenged myself. Maybe my brothers here, keep me accountable that next year I'll be 60, and that's my goal, is to go up at least for one night, and yeah, I could, seeing the look of Brian and John's eyes, and the couple guys last year, Vlad, or not Vlad, Andrew and Charlie and stuff like that, the ones that went up there for the first time, I can sense their excitement. I sense their nervousness up prior, and then the how they beat the challenge on the way back. I mean, it's just, yeah. And Brian said, on the way home as he was leading the mountains, as we was driving, um, the emotional, you talk about a hangover. That's definitely a hangover. You get one after Dan's retreat, and you definitely get one from here, and that's just okay because that's part of it. But the mountain, we all grow together. We all get closer to our higher power. We all grow closer individually. We grow individually. We grow as a group, and that's something. We're participating in our recovery, and this whole program of the 12 steps is about taking action. And you see the 10 of us on the screen, that we're taking action, or throw Andrew in here. Of course, he's not here yet, but taking action is what makes stuff like this happen. And like everybody else has said, if I wasn't sober, this sure wouldn't be happening.
Yeah, man.
Brian said he wouldn't have the money, didn't have the care to, and that's probably a common theme for all of us. I'd venture to say, and there's something to say about that. I don't think anybody does what we do on this trip anyway that didn't have some of this in them before, and to give that up and to regain it back is what recovery is about, reclaiming. So I mean, you can't put a price on it. Recovery is one thing, but reclaiming the things you lost and getting that inner child in you and have it come out in the way that does, and the laughter we have. Even the guy on the boat trip, he rode me out that first day like he knew me for 50 years, and that's just okay. I loved it, and yeah, I mean, it's great stuff. I don't think other people, if you unless you go, you don't understand. It takes you got to make a commitment. You got to commit. Travis is going to come January this next year, going to say, hey, boys, that time of year again. Who wants to go? Be a man or, make that commitment. Excuse me. And it is a commitment. And it's worth not that I trained for it, but it's worth everything you get ready to do to go to it. All the thought, all the process, all the planning, the sacrifices. When you get down to it, there is no sacrifice, because what you gain from it is immeasurable. And I'm forever grateful for that. I'm grateful for every minute I spent with every one of you brothers, and hopefully people will listen to this or watch it even, and come get some of the stuff. You come get what we got, then you'll start understanding and put those fears down. We lived in the fear while we was in the madness, and fear ain't got no place in my life anymore. And doing things like this keeps that fear away and keeps that little noise in my shoulder out of my ear, because I ain't gonna listen to it anyway. One, I can't hear it. Two, I don't care if I did hear it. But yeah, I got getting that piece of shell stuck in my mouth, a bloody nose, uh, getting hung up 30 times like a little 6-year-old fishing. It's all okay.
Forgetting
And
your fishing pole twice.
yeah, forget my fishing rod twice. My fishing rod going into the lake and finding it for most of it. Yeah, forget my life jacket. It's just okay.
Fishing license.
Fishing license. Uh, Kayak blew up. It's just okay, man. It laughed at it all. What? Some of it wasn't all that fun, but I'd rather have it go out on something like that with people I love and share life with, other than be home and have people make fun of you or something and mean it. Sure, stuff happens. You got to laugh at it, and I'm all, it's all good about that. And that's what makes life special. It makes this even more special. Yeah, I wanted so bad to be there last night to share the juice on birthday night, and but I'm through my journey, and it's going to be okay in the long run. But what I gain from these 10 days with you all is, like, I can't say it's immeasurable. And if anybody listening on here wants to go, bring it on. The more the merrier. Travis may say shut up, but I'm sure he concurs too. But like I say, it's a commitment, and I'm going up that damn hill next year and get a piece of what everybody's got that comes down with that sparkle in their eye, like Brian and John and the Andrew and stuff like that. So yeah, but it's special, and I love you all, and I can't wait for next year.
Hell yeah, Mark. Thank you, man. I want to just chime in a couple things that, what I heard one thing and we knock that around here is, learning to say yes to things that are scary. Saying yes anyway, even though you're not sure, man, sign up and go. And then also, I'm really impressed by the way that specifically that you roll with the punches and just roll with things when things weren't necessarily going the direction you wanted them to. The forgetting stuff and the other kind of various things, man. But you just do a little cussing and laugh it off, and I think I was seriously impressed by the way. I don't know that I could have maintained my mood had I had the obstacles that you bumped up against, and that's recovery too, man. It is a piece of it, is to be able to roll with the punches, man. And
Yeah,
so
let me say
thanks, Mark.
something else too. By being there, and you was there too, and Cody and Derek, by being there as a sag wagon, so to speak, support wagon when they go to the trailhead and come back. Man, I get and I'm sure you and the other two guys can speak to this as well, is I get a lot of juice off that. You know, dropping those guys up, especially the guys that ain't been up before, knowing, or hearing about the challenges that, the other guys talked about, and then knowing that, one, they're going to make it, two, they're going to love it, and then three, you can't wait for them to get back and get that juice again. And yeah, man, if I don't go up next year and do base camp, I'm just okay with that, because it's phenomenal.
Yep, certainly is, man. So, anybody particularly raring to go next? I'll call names.
I'll go.
Cool, Cody. Thank you.
Cody Alcoholic. This is my second year going up. Last year I went up when I was 4 months sober, and to do it again, a year and 4 months sober, was something special to me. When I came into the program, I didn't know if I was going to stay when I was 4 months sober, but when I went to Colorado, it changed the trajectory of my recovery. And talking to the guys after we got back and stuff, a lot of them said they seen a lot of growth in me after that week out there in Colorado. And the cool part about this year was me and Derek had planned to do my third step prayer out there. And we had been waiting like a month because we planned it. Then he's like, hey, you can do it in Colorado. And I got sassy with him. And I was like, man, that's like 3 fucking weeks away, man. I was like, I don't want to wait that long. And then I just thought about it, and I had the perfect plan because I'm an alcoholic. I was like, out on the lake when the sun's coming over the mountaintops. I'm like, that'd be the perfect time to do it. And so that was the plan. We got out there, and he's like, whenever you're ready, just say it. And so we were out there fishing around, and I caught a fish. The sun had just caught over the peak, and I was like, now we're gonna do it now. And so me and Derry got to do my third step prayer right there on the lake, and it was calm. The water was still. There wasn't a sound around. It was very peaceful. Um, this year we got to go on a fishing trip or a guided fishing tour, and that was fun. Like Mark said a second ago, that guy rode him like he knew him for 50 years. Mark didn't catch his fish the first day, and that guy would not let him down at all. And then in the back of my head, I'm thinking, Mark planned all this. You might want to get off his back because he's the one paying for it right now. We got to pay Mark back, and it was just great. And so I'm surprised he didn't say at the end of him talking, I caught the biggest fish, motherfuckers. That's what I was waiting for. But the second day we
And
went
he
out there,
did.
he
I
He
did.
earned
did,
that.
motherfuckers. I caught the biggest.
Uh, but this year it was like a reset again. And like Brian said, like when he left, he got teary eyed, and that was me last year when we got into the mountains. I got teary eyed, and about the same spot this year, it hit me again, and I was like, it sets in that it's real. You got to do life on life's terms now. You don't have to be held down or held back because of an addiction that you have because you can't leave the house for 5 minutes without having to have something in your system. And it was just a great trip. And something for me, I like cooking for everybody too. So like getting to cook for everybody again, like that's just something I really look forward to. And last year we went to the AA meeting too, and we met a guy out there named E, and so I stayed in contact with him all year. And so we messaged while we were out there, and we ended up getting to see him. And so he invited me and some of the other guys to go have coffee with him one morning after we met up at meeting, and we did all that. But something that really sticks out to me is just like the friendships I have nowadays. And I gotta, I gotta, I don't know, give applaud or give, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but so last year when I came out there, I was 4 months sober, and there was this necklace I wanted, but I was 4 months sober. I was broke. I didn't have the extra money to spend when I was out there, and so all year long I've been waiting to go back to Colorado so I can get this necklace this year because I actually had money to spend this year, and so we go out there and I got it. Me and Derek did, and I was excited. I was like, hell yeah, I got this necklace. I waited all year for it, and uh, I showed Shane and Mark in the truck, and then we got it to get coffee. And pendant fell off the necklace. And we went back and we searched for it all over the place. And then Mark and Shane took me back to the same place I got it from, and they ended up buying me another pendant for the necklace I had because they said they knew how much it meant to me. And Mark said, hopefully this one means just as much to you as that one did. And the fact of the matter is, it means more than the other one did because I had two great men, and they're like, "We got it. Don't worry about it. You don't need to spend the money again." And it touched me. It touched my heart, and it makes me realize how great life is nowadays. How I have these great people in my life. Every single person that went on this trip, they all touch in a different way, and it makes me sensitive or makes me emotional when I talk about it because I didn't have that before. I didn't have that friendships with people where they would want to do something just to make me happy because they seen how happy that made me at the time when I got it. So um, it's just a special trip. And like Mark was saying a minute ago, if everyone says I want to go, fucking go because it'll change your life. It'll change your whole entire trajectory in your recovery. It'll change how you see the world. It'll change how you see your own higher power. And I think that's really all I got on this one. But it was a great trip. I love every single one of you guys.
Yeah, Cody, thank you, man. You know, those connections that are built in trips such as this, even on like a weekend, spending the weekend with each other, but like especially this extended trip, you really get the bond. You know, you get to know this better. You know, it's not easy. We're all, you know, everybody's got busy lives and a lot going on, and it's tough to really get to know somebody. But these trips do that, man. They solidify these relationships to an extent that it's tough to do nowadays without that time. Hey, John, why don't you go next, brother? I got you muted. I didn't unmute. I can do a little thing where I ask you to unmute.
Yep, got it. Hey, John, alcoholic.
John.
Hey, this trip for me, it taught me so much.
So let's start off. How many months sober are you?
How many months? 5 months.
5 months sober,
Yep.
And you've been hanging around with us just a little over a year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just want to set a little groundwork there.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, this trip just taught me so much. You know, it taught me what real men are, truly. You know, I took off and I thought I trained well enough, and, you know, packing the backpack and taking off on weekends and going up the mountain and what have you, you know, not mountain, the hills here, thinking I'm in shape. And, you know, hell, just driving in there, I could feel the altitude getting to me just driving in. And, you know, I'll be frank. I mean, I was embarrassed. I got out there and I got just right there at the switchbacks, and my heart was racing and what have you. And I'm looking at Travis and like, man, I'm ready to pull the plug. And I didn't want to be that guy. You know, I didn't want to be that guy that, you know, gets up there and has to be taken back down or what have you. Um, and just the empathy Travis, you and Vlad, you know, showed me it's going to be okay. You know, I was ready to run for the truck, as you said, Travis. Um, you know, going up there, and that's, you know, hell, I'll say it, just the love that was shown towards me. I'll never forget it. I mean, that's anyhow, just that was pretty incredible, and you know, the empathy, the compassion, and you know, at the end of the day, hell, we all made it. You know, should have been 8 hours instead of 10. Hell, who knows? You know, and that was phenomenal. That was absolutely phenomenal for me. Um, you know, just what I learned by seeing your all's examples towards me taught me a lot. I feel like I came back with a different set of eyes of kind of looking at life. Um, and I had a hard time being in the moment, to be honest. And towards the end, I started catching that. Shane and I, got stuck on the mountain, if that's what you want to call it, with that big storm that blew in on us, and stuck in a tent in an ice storm. And it just, I really came to terms of what my John's higher power is, and that you can't get that. I don't know. This has all been a blessing. Dan, I met you on Facebook looking at your backpack. And that was probably after one of your trips or what have you. And then, fast forward probably a year and a half later, hell, I'm taking that trip, and I've got 5 months sobriety and whatnot. It just was amazing. But, I learned about God. I learned that for me, it's cliche saying it's all the good things, right, Shane? And for me, I can't describe God in words, but you sure as hell know what God is sitting on top of a mountain, seeing all the good stuff. That is my higher power. And, and for me, again, it's trying to be in the moment. And I've learned that, maybe for me, meditation, and just doing nothing and just looking at the good things that are around me that God's created. And you sure as hell got to do that on top of a mountain. Every ounce of it, every tree that's, hundreds of years old sitting upon that mountain that's now rotted and fallen over. Every nook and crevice of the rocks and seeing the animals go by and what have you. It's a different world. It's a little piece of heaven. I mean, that's why you have to go so damn high. I think we're just getting closer to heaven up there. But this trip was right up there, top moments in life. It's and I tell you what, I love you guys a lot. There's been a lot of repeated things that Brian, you hit it right on the head. Just doing it, just absolutely doing it. It's what it's all about. It's what we've repeated. It's sobriety. It's focusing on it. It's not sitting on the couch watching Cam Hanes. It's being acting like Cam Hanes will say. But that's all I got.
Thanks, John. A lot of people I hear say, that their higher power is nature. And just personally for me, it feels like putting a limitation and a border on what my higher power is. So I can't say that, but I know that the times that I feel closest to my higher power is when I'm out in nature. It's a essential element to me, man. And then with us, I know it's a personal accomplishment for every man that goes up there and comes back, but the first time you do it, getting up to the top of that hill and then making it back down is a huge sense of personal accomplishment. And there's a cliche about, climbing the mountain, right? And those guys actually, get to do that. Who wants to go next? I think I got Derek and Shane and Travis left and me.
I'll go. Derek, alcoholic.
Derek.
Man, first of all, just like last year, shout out to Travis for putting this all together, man. It really, I don't know. I try to put myself in his shoes, and I don't know if I'd want to take a bunch of people I didn't know on that trip, especially I didn't know real well. We all kind of know each other through the meetings, but it's by doing stuff like this that we get to know each other better. And last year was my first year going. And, I tell people we're going up the mountain or we're going to Colorado. Guys are going hunting. They're like, wow, you're going camping in the mountains. And like, no, we're doing more of a glamping kind of style. I'm sleeping inside in a bed. But, the I don't know, the trip out there, you know, everybody's emotions are running high, everybody's getting amped up. And you know, we get out there and then the guys go up the mountain, and to be honest, I had some like watching Brian get ready, and you could just see his excitement and his nervousness on his face the whole time out there, the whole way. And there was a part of me that wished I would have gone up the mountain. You know, last year we stayed at base camp and we fished, and it was just spectacular, just like it was this year. But I almost had, I don't know if it was you know, some FOMO, some fear now going up the hill, or what, but you know, and it was so cool to send the guys off. And you know, fishing is my jam, I guess you could say, man. Ever since I was a kid, that's what I do. That's what I've done with my family. And even when I was in the madness, that's kind of how I would find a little bit of peace without substance. But you know, this year we go out there. And you know, how cool is it that me and Cody got to do his third step out there on the kayaks on that lake? I mean, the beauty, like, is just undescribable. It's something I've never ever, you know, had the opportunity to see before, and I got to go again this year. And you know, we got to do his third step, and I was just catching fish left and right. You know, probably a little bit more than anybody else, but you know, it's but you know, hanging out with the guys, man, it's the bonds. There was the last day when Mark's kayak blew out on him. I went out on the lake by myself, and it really just kind of hit me, man, that, you know, all this, like, what are the chances you get 10 alcoholics and drug addicts? You know, what are the chances that we all get to do something like this? It speaks volumes to the work that we do in the rooms, and to me, it speaks volumes to what this higher power can do for us all. You know, and it really made me realize and cherish just the, you know, no matter what happens in our lives, all 10 of us had those 10 days out there on that mountain with each other. And really just kind of sunk in with me that what a gift, what a blessing, you know, where we're all at in our lives. And I don't know, man. Last year, like I say, was my first. This year was more of just like a kind of just like a reset to me. You know, you get sober, you work the steps, you can kind of, they say one day at a time, but you can kind of plan ahead, you know, and that's what I was hoping for this year. And the reset definitely happened, man. It delivered. And then on the way back, it just went by so fast, you know. That's the other thing. When you're having fun like that, it just flies by. And you know, the way the trip back is definitely not as fun as the trip out there.
Yeah.
That is a fact. You know, it's like we're slowly declining back into our reality. But what it did for me, though, is it made me realize that, like, I got home and I just felt so much lighter. There is no doubt. I just felt like all this crap that I walked right back into, this same crap that was here when I left, it just wasn't eating at me like it was before I left, man. I got sick about a week before we went this year, and kind of put a damper on my last minute little things I needed or wanted to get done before I left. And my attitude is just, man, everything's just okay. I had a chance to do that, and I did it, you know. And that's the other thing. People talk about getting sober is boring, man. What do you do? You know, we just sit at home all day? No, dude. We do stuff like this, man. We get out there and do it. We live it. We reap the benefits of the work that we do. And like I say, man, I'm just so grateful to all of us got to go. I mean, I got to spend a bunch of time with my sponsor and then my sponsee too. So it was just an amazing trip all around.
You also
Loved
caught
it.
fish, right?
Yeah, I was getting ready to go into that a little bit. Well, you were the only guy there that had a sponsee and a sponsor there. That's kind of cool. I hadn't thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
But Derek has got the knack on fishing. I like to say, I used to say this about my brother, and I'm starting to say it about Derek, is that he can catch fish in a mud puddle. And he's got that reflex. And those lake trout bites were sensitive, man. That you had to have a real reflex and be on the spot to be able to hook those. And Derek caught like 10 or 12 the first day, and I was like second with 4, and I think Cody caught 2 the first day. And but Derek could hook them. But Derek had a little equipment problem, and so tell us about that equipment issue that you had and what ended up becoming of that.
Oh yeah, so we were out on the guided tour, and we were fishing with braided line, and something in my reel, was open face reel, something in the reel kept, it was every time I'd set the hook, it would break the line right at the reel.
Yeah,
And
there's a little burr on the bail there where the line comes across the bail.
yeah, so I'd set the hook and it'd break this braid, and we were fishing 80 feet deep in this lake, and so the line would snap off, but it would sit on top of the water for a minute, about, I don't know how long, but my reflexes, I would just reach down there and grab it.
A microsecond.
Microsecond, yeah, and twice the fish, I set the hook and the fish was still on there, so I'm hand lining in this fish that was 70, 80 foot deep. And then I think the coolest one is the guide was, I just caught a fish, pulled it up with my hands. There's line all coiled up around me. And he's tying the 2 lines back together so I can keep fishing. And I'm just kind of goofing around. The bait was still on the hook, so I drop it back down in the water and I'm dangling it with my finger. And sure enough, I got a bite, jerked it again and pulled it up. And I kind of felt bad. There's guys like Mark who couldn't catch a fish, with his line fully intact.
And
But
you're over there hand lining them in. Don't even need to hell with that fishing pole. Just give me some string and a bait.
Yep, that's all I need.
Yep, that was cool, and those are the little things, and it's tough to talk about them, or not tough to talk about, but I like that's why I like to have this podcast pretty quickly after these things happen. So it's fresh in our memories and everything. But, there's a tons of those little things that sometimes they get brought up, sometimes they don't. And definitely that hand line and those fish in was something I witnessed and can testify to. The guide said he had never had anything like that happen before. And that was super cool. Anything else, Derek?
I think that's it.
All right, thank you, brother. Uh, Shane, where are you at? And if I'm leaving, I think I'm catching everybody. But if I do something, I'm liable to slip up my imperfect human side. So help me.
Shane Gibson, alcoholic addict. Thank you, Dan, for hosting this again. I love coming on here after the retreats and sharing that juice. It's so fresh, and it preserves all of our memories by having this. So thank you for that, man, for this avenue. I couldn't think of the word. This is 5th year, man. 5 years in a row going, and it did start with Travis and I and Bish, and that first one, we talked about it, and he was like, "Stay sober, and we'll do it." And it came that time. He's like, "We're going." Like, hell yeah, we're going. And I'd always wanted to go to Colorado and go elk hunting, and I never thought I would ever go. You know what I'm saying? That it's that alcoholic thinking. These things, all I want to do. I'll do it one day. I'll do it one day. And that day would never come. And I was so entrenched in my addiction that there was no way possible I could ever do a trip like that. I wouldn't have enough to get me through. You know what I mean? So the only way I was going to ever be able to do it was sober, and I'm grateful this is how I found it and able to do it now. But Just getting ready for this trip every year. It, it it's motivation for me to lose weight because I flippy floppy every year, man, and I've had that problem for a long time and trying to switch things up. And this year, a lot of the suggestions that have been told to me many times finally start sinking in this year, and listening more and taking suggestions instead of acting like I know what I'm doing because I don't. Past 4 years, I'd gotten sick on the mountain pretty much every time we went up, and it was mainly because I wasn't eating right, um,
And
overtraining
altitude sickness too. There's a piece of us is just plain altitude sickness.
for sure, and the overtraining, the undereating, all those things, and on top of that, doing a job for a guy I'd never met before, and brought up that I was going to Colorado, and the first thing he said is, "You get sick when you go," and I immediately said I didn't want to be a badass and say no, I don't get sick. I immediately said yes. Why? He's like, "Well, I go out there too, and I'm a doctor, and it's your lucky fucking day." And he wrote me out this prescription for this medication you start taking 2 days before you go into the mountains, and then every day while you're in the mountains. And this year was the first year I did not get altitude sickness, and I am so grateful for that, man. It after doing everything right this year, if I would have gotten it this year, I don't know if I'd have went back up. After 5 times is suffering up there versus being able to enjoy it like everybody else does. So I'm grateful it worked and I know what to do because everybody else told me what to do, and I listened this time. So that's one thing is just being grateful that I've taken the suggestions. And I'm hard-headed alcoholic, dude. I am not perfect by any means, and I do things my way. So grateful that all the teachings has sank in finally, and yeah, I'm learned a lot about what I need to do for next year for training for it. As far as my new goal is working out legs. I've never worked out legs. I hardly ever do, and this year my main goal is to really concentrate on my legs because a lot of it is your legs in the mountains. So speaking of that, on the way up, we're walking up and is short of breath and need to take a break, but nobody really wants to say stop. So I came up with a little safe word, which was Jumanji, and what that meant was when you could hear your heartbeat, like in the movie Jumanji, when you got closer to the treasure, it'd be louder or whatever. That's when it was time to stop and take a break. So I got a little kick out of making that one up, saying Jumanji instead of saying I need to take a break, it's Jumanji, and everybody knew what the fuck that meant. So we stopped. And yeah, the new guys, Brian and John coming up, man, as an inspiration, man. I'm so proud of y'all. Y'all did great, especially for your first fucking time. Um, y'all inspired me a lot for sure. Y'all took a lot less breaks than I did, I think. Um, I know when we were walking up to the 12,150 feet, um, don't forget that 50 feet, Brian, because it's 12,150, I do believe. Uh, um, I know I was watching, I wasn't even looking ahead. I was just watching Brian's steps, and that's where I was. You know what I mean? Because it was a trek getting up there, and Brian was right in front of me, and I just kept looking at his legs. When he stopped, I stopped, and I'd look around, and he was right on cue with the brakes, man, and he was walking a perfect pace for me personally. So I'm grateful that they came up too, man, and got so much out of it. Spending that extra time on the mountain with John when everybody else went down, and him and I stayed up there in that storm um, to do a little mini third step together, dude. That was more powerful to me than getting an elk. You know what I mean? For that whole trip, to be honest with you, that was more rewarding than getting an elk. Um, so I'm grateful to have been able to spend that time with him and talk about our higher powers and just be in the moment for sure. Because man, that storm rolled in and the wind was whipping pretty good, and it felt like it took the oxygen out of the air. I don't even know if that's possible if a storm can blow through that strong where it like pulls oxygen away from that altitude because we were just sitting in a tent and it's just like man, I'm glad we're not walking out in this because the air got real thin and
I
cold
bet you
and
that change in the barometric pressure probably is causes some weirdness to happen and changes the changes the pressure, and that's part of, our lungs are used to a particular pressure coming from the universe, and you're already up there, and then that uh, change happens on top of the mountain. That made sense to me.
yeah, and that's what it felt like. And and then it was we were in the clouds, dude. I mean, we were the clouds, and the ice started gathering on top of the tent. I kept having to knock the ice off the top of the tent. That was the second coldest I'd ever been on that mountain, and the first time was the first year when it was 11 degrees the first night. So I don't know what the temperature got down to, but it was definitely felt to me like it got to the teens for sure because it was freaking cold and quick. It happened quick. That temperature just dropped, plummeted, and we were there. I had all my gear on and my sleeping bag, and I was still a little cold. So,
Mm.
um, but being able to spend that time with John up there, getting some one-on-one time with the new guy, I love that. Um, and the thing with Cody, man, when we went to look for his necklace, we were looking around this parking lot, and I always get my wife and kids something from Colorado that I find, and I always have something in particular. It's like I don't know it when I see it kind of deal. And I hadn't found my wife something yet, and we were already off the mountain in town and stuff. And I was like, I'm not gonna find her something, and we're looking for his necklace. And in that parking lot, underneath the grass and underneath the dirt, I just happened to see a glimpse of something like a dotted rock. I was like, what's that? And I dug it up and looked at it and I flipped it over and it says, I love you on it. It was one of those painted rocks that somebody put there years ago. Cause I mean, this thing was buried pretty much. And I was like, wow, that's cool. So I got to come home and tell my wife that story and give her rock. But I wouldn't have found it if Cody wouldn't have lost his necklace. And when we went back in town and found that necklace, Mark and I had I'd already been thinking it, and Mark said it. He's like, and he shouldn't have to buy that thing again. He's like, let's have it. I'm like, cool, man, let's do it. So when he was sitting there deciding which one he wanted and he was gonna buy it, we were like, no, bro, we got it. And that meant a lot to me too, because I did not want to see him pay for another one. You know what I mean? And I thought the woman would have maybe gave a discount or something, and she wasn't budging at all. And I was like, man, I don't want to have to pay that much again for it. Lived a cool ass story, and I just felt bad for him, but it was that was cool. That touched my heart too, just to be able to. Mark was already thinking what I was thinking. We're like, we're not gonna let this dude pay for another one. We're gonna do this and get it for him. The bonds that we share with each other, man, it's priceless, dude. I mean, you can't put a price on this. I was I was speaking at the Healing Place tonight, and I told those guys, I was like, man, I just got back from a trip to Colorado with 10 sober dudes. They're like, what? They all like really perked up. They're like, what? Yeah, it was like, yeah, there's 10 of us. My home group, we all went on this our fifth year going, and they're like, y'all do stuff like that? I'm like, yup. There's more to recovery than just getting sober, man. If that's all it was, I wouldn't be sober still, like Travis always says, man. I would not still be here if that's all I did was get sober. We get these bonds with these guys, and I just that's my life today, man. And that's the joy in my life today is making these bonds and sharing our tools with others, man, and watching them turn on, and it's just amazing. Again, thank you, Travis, for starting this off, man, and getting this thing going and letting me be part of it for all 5 years. And look forward to next year, man. So,
Yeah, man. Definitely is, lifelong memories from both trips for me for sure. It was a bucket list item for me. And then, my head told me that my bucket list item was to bow hunt elk. But to be honest, as I'm growing in recovery and stuff, it's really sitting on me that like my hunting is really just some camouflage for my need to be out in the boonies, and to be out in nature. And I've kind of just sank into that, and it's not that I'm against killing stuff. And if the right deer walks by, I will. But that trip in 21 definitely satisfied that
Right.
bucket list item. I checked the list off and said, yeah, man, that's no matter how many times you talk about it, there's no way to really fully state what that means to go up there. And I totally
Yeah,
get the thing from the guys who like Derek and Mark talking about like wanting to. I would encourage you to because there's definitely something special up there.
for
He's getting
sure.
ready to say,
I was also going to say, and thank you because you got me back into hunting. With the sober dude deer hunt the first year that you did that. Because once I got sober, I just lost the passion to hunt. I didn't want to kill anymore. I don't know what it was, but it was just something that I just didn't want to do anymore, really. And then you had that sober dude deer hunt, and it got me back into hunting. And I see no place to us too to let us deer hunt there. I might not have wanted to go on this elk hunt even. So thank you.
oh, thank you. I'm gonna jump in before Travis, unless Travis wants to go next. Um, as I said a minute ago, it's my second trip in 21. I went up the hill with Travis and Shane, and I can totally understand what John was talking about that. It doesn't take you. Yeah, I think I don't know if Travis might have said it. I'm not sure, but like it's and somebody else said it already too. It's like 70% physical or 70% mental and 30% physical, and it certainly is because it does test you. Travis will say that, and it's said some pretty passionate talks in the past about how that mentally tests you, and honestly, walking up there and back, the victory and the accomplishment was more on my mental side than it was on my physical side, even though the physical side kicked my ass. Uh, it was definitely more of a mental victory because you just got to keep going and you don't know what you can really do, and there's a lot of, hustle culture guys out there talking about, what your mind can, that's the limiting factor. Most all of us have the physical abilities to do it. It might whip you, but it's definitely a bunch of mental. But this year, and no, I will be honest, man. Those rides are hard on me, man. That's staying up all night on the way home. I'm still recovering from that to some extent. Thank God my higher power has allowed me to sleep in most of the mornings this week, and I've needed it. If I stay up all night long, and that's basically what it was, you got a little cat nap here or there. I stay up all night long, I pay for it for a week, but it's worth it. Um, getting to know, even though Derek and I, and we really know most of us know each other pretty well, but there's another level that happens when you get to spend an extended amount of time with guys. And uh, I for the most part, Travis come in there and not for the most part, but let me switch back. Travis put up a big 10-man dome tent, and then we had Mark's camper there. And we were all at camp the first night, so I ended up bunking up and sleeping with Mark at night. And I don't know. There's an old piece of me that sits down and thinks, you know, I wouldn't have done that in the past, like sleep with another dude in the same bed. But it don't mean a fucking thing to me today. We could put three in there and I'd have been all right. But for the rest of the week, I slept out in that dome tent, and with most of the guys who were using it the first night all boogied and 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 Cody and Mark and Derek were all sleeping in the camper, so I had this like fucking felt like a cabin tent out there to myself. And I like that. I think there's something about sleeping, even if it's in a tent. There's something about sleeping out there that does some recharging and some batteries in me that like I think everybody ought to do. That you ought to kind of because I'm not cold. My face is cold, but none of the rest of me is. I'm gonna talk about the guided fishing trip. I'm not, there's some kind of old training in me someplace that resists that. And when it first come up, there was a little piece of me inside that said, I don't want to go on a goddamn guided fishing trip. But you know what I did? One of my brothers had offered it and mentioned it. And, you know, it was another one of them things of saying yes. Don't think about it. Just say yes. Let's do it. And I'm super glad that I did that. I don't think we'd, you know, that kind of fishing, I would have never guessed that we were going to be fishing the way we were. Uh, I have a new tool in my toolbox for when I do go fishing. And we just had a great time. That lake was beautiful. The guide was fun. And you know, it's just it's fun to sit in there and jaw jack and you know, make fun of one another and you know, do that whole thing together and be so excited when somebody actually does hook a fish and bring it up and had a great time doing that. Um, I've had a couple opportunities this week where people have asked me something and it come up that, you know, I'd been at a, like even the doctor's appointment, I had a follow up for my blood pressure today. And somehow or another it come up that, and I said that 10 of my, 9 of my sober dudes and me went to Colorado for a week and a half. And I think it had to do with like, I'm not a sedentary dude, you know, I'm not some dude that just sits around. And as I think Andrew kept on getting on me, said I was making him nervous because I'm always doing something. Would you just sit down? And I said, 10 sober dudes. And she looked at me real funny, you know, and she said, solar dudes. And I, no, not solar, but kind of, because they do shine light in my life, man. And just had a couple opportunities to talk about that. And everybody, like Shane talked about it, is talking that people kind of like, they give you like oh, there's an interesting feeling they get when I say that, you know, 10 of us went and did a big trip like this. Um, and this adventure that we get, you know, I think we all desire that. I think, and I'm not I'll just stick to the men because that's what I know, is that I believe that men need adventure in their life. I think it's an essential piece to a happy life. There's also some, you know, like service. I think we have to be doing something for somebody else without any expectation and anything in return for it. But adventure, you know, I mean, golly, how long have we been looking? You know, people looking. I wasn't sure I was going to go, but I signed up as soon as the thing happened at the beginning of the year because first time I did that podcast with Shane and Mark and Travis, and I had FOMO so bad that I said I am going next year. Period. And and then, you know, the anticipation, I have to manage that ahead of the trip. You know, Shane will talk about like he can't sleep and like so freaking excited for the trip and it's interrupting his life because he's looking forward to it. So I try to pad that down some, but there's an anticipation and a little bit of anxiety from the am I going to take everything I need kind of crap, but I love it. And I love having my gear in my bedroom. You know, me being a bachelor, I get to just wreck my bedroom if I want to and have my stuff all laid out and go through it and fool around with this stuff. And I'm a kind of a little bit of a gearhead anyway. I just like stuff. I like camping stuff, hunting stuff, gun stuff, computer stuff. And I just love that anticipation up to it. You know, sometimes I've had some trips and not really recently, I can't think of, but sometimes the anticipation actually overrode the actual trip itself, but not on this one and not on my trip to Gettysburg. Um, you know, the guys went and watched football on Sunday, and I just took Travis's truck and just drove till I got lost and rode around and rode around and rode around. And I like that piece of it too, man, just to kind of just go explore and just go see. The one thing about that, when we went fishing, well, I think it was called Barnhart's Pass. I think it was that valley, that gully that we drove down through that had the river down in the bottom of it and the railroad tracks just a little bit above that. And then the road was on the other side of it. There was something about that gully that, like, I don't know, just like quintessential Western, something or another, you know, it just was perfect. Big jagged rocks sticking up, and they were, and for the most part, they were like a real red color. And drove back through there again just because I wanted to see that one more time and feel it. And of course, we got to do it again the next day. Um, Two things that really touched me this week, that week. on Tuesday, I got up in the morning and I didn't get up and go fishing with the guys, and I was packing my stuff because I had promised myself I would do a solo backpack overnight trip sometime during this week. And and there was a piece of me that was wanting to like keep on kicking that can down the road, but I knew Tuesday night was the night that I needed to do it. And packed up my stuff, and Cody give me a lift to the trailhead, and marched up to this what's called Strawberry Lake, and I got up there too quick. But when I was going up the switchbacks, going up the mountain, the first time with you guys reminded me, because there's a piece of me that wants to charge up there. It's hard to stop for a minute, but I remembered, no, take early and often breaks. Just you're not in a hurry. Don't worry about it, and just get up there. And I did get up there quicker than I wanted to. And there was a lady up there, saw a few people, and they said, um, you ought to walk out the Strawberry Bench Trail. Well, I looked at my map and I saw it, and I saw how it looped around, and just for a safety factor. And I still had a little bit of service. I kind of drew a little map and sent it to Cody, because I was going to be someplace, in case I didn't come back, I was going to be someplace completely different than where I said I was going to be. And that's another thing about Vlad let me know. I'm really glad they let me know y'all made it up there and everything was cool. These safety checks, keeping, I care about you guys, and I kind of want to know that everything's okay, even though I assume it is. But I got about, I don't know, a mile or so down that trail, and I quit seeing people, man. And I got the Skittles, man. I started getting worried. Every big black stump looked like a damn black bear to me, and I started getting the feeling like I was going to something was going to get me. And I like that feeling too, man. And even though once I come down, it's kind of like with that feeling of like when you're almost in a wreck and you get that adrenaline rush, and then it comes down. Not that I really like that feeling, but it's a little bit like that, where I got a little skitty, man, and got my confidence wrapped up around me, and walked that, and it rained on me. So that's another, you remember those tough times. The bluebird days are hard to remember, but that rain and fog moved in, and man, I'll just say, I loved every moment of the trip. But when I was up there walking that path, that's when I felt alive. There was something to being up there by myself, and I kind of specifically like, it's one of the reasons why I like to hunt the way I like to hunt, is because I like the solitude. I want the checkout time where it's just me and the world. And camped out that night, had to knock the ice off. I think it's the same night that I think it's the same night that Shane was talking about the rain and stuff, and the storm. And I had a wet shirt that I had hung in the branches of a tree next to me. And when I picked it up, it was just straight as like picking up a piece of plywood, man. That shirt was frozen solid. And I folded it up and stuck it in my backpack. And even when I got it back to camp that morning, that shirt was still frozen. Uh, didn't take long down at 80. Well, the camp is about 8,300 feet, and the base camp where the guys go up on top of the mountain and camp is 11,300. So you heard Shane talk about walking up to 12,150. And so that's basically another 1,000 foot up from where their base camp is, up on top of the mountain on that little plateau. That's a lot of elevation, man. And it'll do something to you. Um, so I did have a blast on that solo trip. It was exactly what I needed over that week. It put the period at the end of the sentence for me, that um it fed my soul. And I'll tell one more thing. It's a little bit funny to talk about, but I'm gonna talk about it anyway. That morning I got up and I was getting my stuff together and kind of shaking out my gear, because I didn't need to take everything that I didn't. I just needed a little enough for an overnighter. And Mark and Derek had went fishing, and I heard the truck pull back up again. And Mark got out of the truck and he was cussing and ranting that he had forgot his fishing pole. Here he went fishing. That was his deal, and he left his fishing pole behind. And we sat there, and I gave him a hug and uh, empathized with him, because I really did. That was the way my heart felt. And then I think he actually hollered at Cody, "You sure you don't want to go?" And Cody said, "No, I'm staying here." And with me and Mark turned our backs to one another, and I went my way and he went his, and he left. And then here his goddamn truck was again. What the, and there I've noticed as soon as he was walking up, his fishing pole was still leaning against that tree, and it's not a pity thing. That's not what it is. But there was a real heartfelt feeling about the fact that he had done that twice. And I know that he was telling me that he forgets that he loses his phone all the time and stuff like that. And I don't know, man. There's something that touched me about that moment to where like my heart really went to Mark. And I really felt for him. And um, it's not that big a deal, and it feels kind of, I don't know, hollow stating it now, but my eyes are fogging up a little bit talking about it. Is that, um, you know, I don't know. One of my brothers was having some bumps in the road, man, and I felt those bumps probably just as vividly as he did. And that's kind of some of what this thing is about: is that you feel with one another, and you truly can. When somebody's got something going on, it's not just shallow. Sorry, you're going through that kind of thing, man. I feel when you guys are hurting or struggling or having a bump in the road, and I don't know that that stuff would happen without the way that we get close to one another on these trips and stuff like the retreat where we really bond. And uh, you know, it happens, with sponsees and sponsors to some level, but I don't sponsor Mark, but I still felt that same touching feeling, man. I can't explain why that moment touched me like it did, but it did. And so I thought I would share that. So it was a blast. Again, everybody's thanking one another, but we thank each other, right? That without each one of us, the thing, everybody plays their part, and without every one of us in there stepping up to the plate, the things like this wouldn't happen. And so I thank you all. I congratulate you for saying yes to the adventure. And and the guys who had this particular, I know even when like Shane goes up there for a fifth time, it's still a sense of personal accomplishment for making it up again, making it up and making it back again. So it's just cool. I will speak for John a little bit to some of the stuff we were doing when he first showed up at the Spiritual Underground. That's what kept him in the ball game too. He was here. He expressed that to me, that he was here, and like real early on, he was like, "How do I get in on that Colorado trip? When are you going to have another retreat?" Um, and that that lured him, in sort of like Cody talked about, and then some other guys that talked about the retreat, is those special moments. Was the selling point for them that said, okay, I do want to do this thing you guys are doing. And that's the whole reason why I'm doing this podcast right now, is to try to sell this thing that, recovery can be a blast, man. You just have to, I'll say it a little bit arrogantly, you just have to do it right. If you're not having a blast in your recovery, you're not doing something right. So, it's incomprehensible that we get to do the things we're doing and get to do it together. And it's beyond my ability to state it fully in words. So I'll throw the mic to Travis. He's still
What's
here.
up, guys? Yeah, I'm here. What's up, guys? Travis, alcoholic. Thanks everybody. All you guys for showing up, man. I love Shane to death, but I'm not so sure I want to go up on that mountain with just me and Shane, or just me by myself. I don't think I would do it. This wouldn't be possible without all these guys stepping up and saying yes and doing these things, man. So, um, I love you guys, and thank you so much for showing up for me and showing up for yourself, showing up for your recovery. Um, there's a line in that blue book that we look at all the time, and it says, to watch a fellowship grow up about you, something you must not miss. And I didn't know what that meant, man. I wasn't sure what that meant when I read it the first time, but the longer that I stay around here, the more things jump out from that book at me that I understand, or I think I understand more. Um, and I didn't know I was missing that. I didn't know that that was missing from my life, until I realized that how special that was, and we have that here. And this shit is free and it's fun. And if you're not having fun in your recovery, then, like you said, you're not doing it right. Just to paint a picture, the base camp that we have at the lake there, where the camper is and everything, the guys that go up on the mountain, like you were saying, the elevation, there's over 4,000 vertical feet that we go up that mountain, over 4,000 vertical feet and 8 miles deep into the backcountry. There's no motorized vehicles allowed. There's no ATVs. It's either horseback or on your feet with your backpack on your back. And it's not easy. This isn't a hike at Red River Gorge. This isn't a hike at in Tennessee. This is the Rocky Mountains. This is the real deal shit. And to see Brian and John and they panicked a little bit. They had a little panic in them both when we started out, man, because it's the beginning of the hike from where we start at base camp to where we hunt at in the backcountry. Like I said, 8 miles deep and 4,000 feet of elevation. The beginning is the steepest part. The first hour of that hike is straight up, back and forth, switchbacks up the mountain, straight up. And I could see the panic on those guys, man. They were their eyes were kind of big, and I could tell their hearts were beating. And I just want to say how proud I am of those guys, man, because they didn't turn around, they didn't give up, they kept pushing forward, and we say it here all the time, but we do hard shit. We do hard shit around here, man. And those guys stepped up and they did it. And there was no complaining. There was no negativity, and negativity is something that happens on the mountain. And I know firsthand because I've got negative before too. And when you get negative, that shit is contagious. That negativity is contagious. And those guys never got negative. They never got down on themselves. They never got, in a place where they were wanting to give up or turn around, and they kept pushing forward. And I'm super proud of those guys, man. We talked about it a little bit before the trip about, what is the definition of a successful trip? What is that definition really? Is it that we kill an elk? Is that really what the definition of success is with this trip? And it's not at all what the definition of the success is for this trip. I feel like I got humbled a little bit on that mountain because I fancy myself a pretty good elk hunter. Like I spend a lot of time, studying maps and training and putting gear together. And man, we went 4 or 5 days up on that mountain. We didn't see an elk. We did not see a single elk up there for the first time ever in 5 years. We did not see an elk up there. And we saw bears. We saw three bears. I saw 3 different bears. We had a bear tag. It kind of turned into a little bit of a bear hunt up there. We started hunting bears a little bit. I could have shot a smaller bear and decided not to kill that bear. It's illegal to kill juvenile bears in Colorado. And I'm not a great judge of bears anyways. And I thought the bear was a little small and decided to pass and not shoot the bear. But we saw deer, we saw moose fighting. There was a couple of moose that were pushing each other around with their antlers up there by the lake up on top. And there's something in my DNA, and I'm pretty sure it's in every man's DNA. That's something tribal, and something that we've got away from in society. We've got away from, what do they used to do? They used to get together. Men used to get together and they used to go hunt and feed their families. And they used to go out, spend time out in the woods and trap and fish and hunt and do all these things. And there's something in my DNA that this fulfills that piece of me. It fills me up. There's nothing more satisfying and more filling and meaningful to me than to get to spend this time with the men that I love and respect up in the mountains. And we didn't have a lot of success elk hunting, but we had a lot of success in a lot of other ways up there, man. I think Brian touched on it too, is that when you're up there doing hard shit and you're in the backcountry and you're hiking and you're putting 100% of your effort into what you're doing, you don't have the time to think about anything else. You are forced into the present, and there's things that it could be, maybe for you it's painting, or maybe for you it's woodworking, or maybe for you it's playing the guitar. There's things that you get into that flow state, and that flow state for me is that my mind is not thinking about anything else. And it's the most present that I can ever be. Maybe it's fishing, but when I become more present, when I become the most present, because I think I'm present all the time, right? Like I think in normal day, every day, but I'm not really, truly, really 100% present. But when I'm forced into being 100% present, it brings me closer to my higher power. It brings me closer to my brothers. It brings me closer to myself. And that's what made the trip successful for me, man. To get to share these moments with these men, it's so special, and we can sit here and talk about it and tell everybody about how great it is and all these things, but until you get to experience it, until you really get to experience it and get to engulf yourself into these things that we do, it's not really explainable. You can't really put words to what we do, and the feelings and the experiences that you get to have with these men who, oh, again, that I love and respect so much. um, Brian and I came down a little bit early off the mountain and decided to go try a new hunting spot. And we got into the elk. We found the elk in the new hunting spot, but it was just a little bit too late. We just didn't have enough time to really get on them like we wanted to. We had a couple chances at elk. I think the success rate for Colorado elk hunting is around 10%. So 1 in 10 people that buy a tag for Colorado elk are successful with a hunt. And we're on about a 50% success rate in our 5 years. We're at 100% opportunity success rate. So that's pretty cool. So I'm still going to stick to that. I'm an okay elk hunter. I'm still going to hold on to that title, but it humbled me, man. It really did. It was a level of humility that, I thought this is the sure thing. We're going to go up here with 6 guys and I'm going to show these guys, here's all the elk and here's what they sound like and here's what they do, and I had all these plans and my expectations in my head, and that it's another level of letting go. I had to let go of all that and let God do what God does, and make sure Travis does what Travis does. And it was special, man. It was really special. It was way too fast. It seems like it just went by so fast. If like I said, I bring it up every January, man, and there's always a few guys that commit to doing this thing, and it's a commitment, and that's the $50 thing in the beginning with the camping. It's getting some skin in the game. I want some people to get some skin in the game. I want you to put a little bit of skin in the game that says, yes, I'm going to do this. Here's $50 camping fee for the week, for the campground, and thanks to Mark for bringing his camper. That's always a tall order to pull a 36-foot camper all the way to Colorado every year. I think we get 6 miles to the gallon on the gas, I think, is what we get on pulling his camper out there. And uh, you know, it's a lot for somebody using their vehicle and their camper and all that. And I want to thank Mark for doing that and stepping up, and just everybody, man, just every man that showed up. You say it all the time, like at the retreats, but thanks for coming out and playing with me. Thanks for coming out and playing with me, man. And it's such a special place to me. And to be able to share that with guys who I love so much, to be able to share something that's so special to me with them and let them get a little piece of that, to let them have a little piece of what, what really fills me up and what's meaningful and purposeful in my life. And to be able to share that with them, it's just, it's undescribable. I just love you guys, and thanks for everything, and thanks for coming, and can't wait for next year, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Travis. Um, so somebody might have got sprung on something they forgot to say. We'll go around again real quick if anybody does, has to. Well, my thing is we went to 2 AA meetings while we were there. We went to that Granby one that was talked about, which is allegedly, I can't say for sure, but I'll take their word on it, the oldest continuously running AA clubhouse west of the Mississippi. And we went to that a couple years ago or 3 years ago when I went the first time, but we went to a meeting in Winter Park on Sunday night, and there was happened to be some guys from a men's group there, someplace, and somebody might be able to chime in on what exactly the town was, but uh, say again, Cody.
Parker, Colorado.
Parker, Colorado. And they sounded a lot like us, man. I mean, of course, I think we're better, but but that was cool that we met up with some dudes who were doing a similar kind of thing, and a guy actually got his 1 year token up there on that at that meeting that night, and it was interesting to have these two men's. To me, it was interesting to have these two men's group coming out and doing a little. They were mostly fishing, I think, or solely fishing, but to have these two different. Uh, AA men's home groups that were out doing an adventure and happened to intersect at this little Winter Park uh, AA meeting. Um, it's just cool. All out of town meetings are cool, but it's special when we do things like this, and especially when you can tell and you can see that the people that we brought SU juice in the door with us, and they can feel it and sit around jaw jack outside the meeting for a little while afterwards. And again, man, heck of what we easily doubled the size of the Granby meeting, maybe more than that when all of us walked in there Wednesday night. Um, cool stuff, and like the fact that like Cody kept in contact with a guy from last year to this year, and it's all that same that old thing that addiction is the opposite of connection, and we make these connections with these people, and that's cool. So did anybody get a heartstring strung that they got something else they want to say that they left out?
I just kind of want to hit on what a couple of guys said, man, and Dan, you kind of said it too. When we are riding in the car about being with the Delta Force, SU, and we just show up, man. When it, I just want to reiterate the fact anybody may stumble upon this podcast is the whole just say yes, man. Like Travis has these canoe trips that we do, and go fishing, and it seems like it's the same fellas every time, and the retreat that you opened up to everybody, and it's just, man, they just don't understand what they're missing by just, I don't need to do that, or I got a lot going on, and this trip I'm going to remember for the rest of my life, and I got close to each and every one of you guys, man, and nobody can take that from us. And as everybody said, man, if recovery wasn't fun, I wouldn't do it. And just say yes, man. I can't reiterate that enough. And thanks again, Travis and Mark. That trailer is a beast to pull, man, and I appreciate your patience and you giving you loaning that vehicle and the trailer and stuff. It was just an awesome 10, 11 days, and I appreciate and love all you guys.
It's fine. Jump in there if you don't have anything else to say. Maybe just give me a closing thought. We will tie a bow around this thing. Everybody's just laid back. There's
I'll
Shay.
go.
All right,
Yeah,
brother. Thank you.
I do just want to say, thank you to all the guys. Literally, like Brian said, I feel closer to all y'all again, even more, even though we're already close. It's just when you think you can't love somebody or respect somebody more, and you do, it just, I don't know. Love is eternal. It's not never ending, and I just can't imagine loving you guys more than I already do. So it's just cool when it happens. So uh, thank you all for being my friend and loving me and let me love you. Love all you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. As old John Lennon said, love is all you got, and I think everybody here would understand that, ultimately that's what this comes down to, that a bunch of men can truly love one another and go out and support one another. And there's never any arguing, and there's always somebody standing there ready to help at any given second. You stand up and get ready to do something, and somebody's like, here, let me give you a hand, and everybody's just chomping at the bit to support one another.
I was gonna
Nothing
say,
like it.
love you guys, and until next time.
Yeah, man. We'll keep on doing the adventures. I've got a couple thoughts about maybe a little slant on a couple of adventures next year that I'm gonna propose, and just keep on doing fun shit.
Oh, actually, I'm glad you said that, Dan, because I was thinking. I think I said something to a couple of guys. Maybe I know I said something to Vlad about it, but I have a friend that has a bunch of places down in Red River Gorge that we could use, and I was thinking about maybe getting to mess you guys together to go down to the Red River Gorge in February, like late February, and just do some hike and just um stay at the nice house and just have like a day hike kind of deal and maybe do the zip lines and some things like that down at Red River Gorge. So I'm gonna start putting that together and throw it out there here soon. But this is kind of the first little tiddling of a invite that I'm gonna be doing something like that here soon too. So
Yeah, I want to set up a whitewater rafting trip in West Virginia maybe and see how many guys
hell yeah,
might want to go do that.
down for that.
All right. Final thoughts, closing what Steve Brunella says, concluders.
I will say something. Without things like this, without us doing these things, I'm not sure that I would be sober. I'm not sure that recovery or going to meetings or just AA a couple days a week at a meeting or reading a book would have kept me sober, would have made me want it to stay. But um, the bonds that we forge, and I talked to you, Dan, about this earlier, that there's men that count on me, and there's men that I count on. We count on each other, and I'm not willing to jeopardize that for anything today. So thank you again to all the men that showed up for themselves and showed up for me, showed up for each other. And if you're struggling out there, if you're having a hard time staying sober, call us. Get a hold of us. This is not an exclusive club that we have here. We invite everybody in. This is not an exclusive group of men. This is open to everybody. This is available to everyone. And I didn't know that when I didn't know that when I first got sober. I didn't know that. It was probably because I hated myself so much. I knew for a fact that you wouldn't like me either. But we all have so much in common. And the purpose and the meaning that we get out of our lives today, and that we get through each other and through this work, and through these bonds that we forge with each other. It's lasting. It's meaningful, and it's lasting, man. And just join us. That's all I gotta say, man. Just join us. Thanks.
Yeah, brother. Yep. Couldn't say it better than that. Jump in. One other thing I like to say is, like, you guys are my battle buddies. There's a disease out there called alcoholism, man, and I need as many people lined up side by side with me. My safety net cannot be deep enough or wide enough. Every person is another buddy to do this thing called life with, man. And frankly, on the surface, the skids are greased today, but life ain't fucking easy. There's a lot of shit that happens, and this support like this, and the bonds that get built because of things like this, put a safety net on me where I'm willing to walk the tight wire and know that if I slip, I'll be caught. John, Derek, Mark.
Yeah, I'll go. I was thinking about that that last meal we had the last night we were all there around the fire. We had the fish that we had caught throughout the week, and then Travis brought some, I think it was some mule deer and some elk somethings that was also off that mountain, and we cooked it over the fire. You and Cody chopped up the stuff, put it in the fish, made it all work, man, and it just kind of tied a bow around the whole thing. And the feeling of accomplishment, man, that I felt that we all did it. The guys went up, and it was like Travis was talking about it being a successful trip. You just don't get those feelings, jerking off and playing video games. You just don't. And when you get sober and life happens, that's what I have a tendency to fall into, is just doing stuff like that. But there's more out there for you. And we're not the only group of guys that do stuff like this. Like it was really cool, like you said, to see those guys from Parker come up, and they were spitting the same kind of stuff we were talking, man. They were loving life. And there are ways to do that. One of my favorite passages in the book is we can go anywhere another free man can go. I was so chained down, and not just my addiction, but by where my life was at. And what do you know, man? The book delivered again. There we were wrapping up our trip, and get out there and find your own group of guys,
Or build it.
or build it. I like that better. Yep. So thanks, guys. I love you all, and see what next year brings.
Oh yeah, Derek. Thank you, brother. John, Mark, final thoughts, concluders. I can't get everybody on the screen at one
Yeah, I'll
time. I
go.
see.
I'll
Go
go.
ahead, brother.
Yeah, I've said this before in a few meetings, and it really gets honed down to the ones of us that the retreat and this Colorado trip. My career as a firefighter and 20 years in the military. There's very few people I'd rather go in battle with than you all. There's certain things that sure training and that kind of stuff that goes without saying, but when it comes to life, I've got my battle buddies right here. Somebody just said, and I'll stick to the ones I have on this screen and a couple that's off of it right now. But I've laid my life literally on the line many times, and many times people laid their life on the line for me. But I'd rather keep my chances right here in this room right here. And so, thanks to y'all, and I love you.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Yep. I'd toe the fucking line with you guys any fucking day, no matter what the opposition was, man. No
Fuck
matter what
yeah.
it was.
Come get you some of this shit.
Yeah. Safe and protected. So, John, closing thoughts, brother?
Now, just be honest, I'm a little bit still emotionally overwhelmed at how wonderful the trip was. It's just, and for me, words can't describe it. There's a lot of things that, just taken in. But that's just me. It just, it's undescribable. I didn't think, I came back and life's still life and what have you. My goodness, what an insurance policy. I invested in with a week with you guys. And it helps. It absolutely helps. You come back to life and you're not on a mountain anymore. And I'm thinking, my God, I've got these guys. And when it gets bad, you guys are a phone call away. And obviously I've learned, you guys will carry me, and hopefully as time goes by, it's vice versa. And that means everything to me. So that's my conclusion.
Yeah, thanks, John. That's stuff, brother. Yeah, man. It's such a wonderful life in recovery, man. And every one of you'd raise your hand and say you'd never thought it could be this way. And me too. And we get to do this amazing stuff together. And one of the other things I notice is the guys that do these things stay. Now, we've had a few people slip, right? But they're back in the boat. Those guys that do things like this, even if they slip, they're back in the boat. And there's a lot to be said for that. Uh, I'd have never guessed I'd be getting to do the things that I get to do prior to recovery. I keep on talking about writing a book that talks about the myths of recovery, and of course, some of the top ones would be I'll never have no fun. I'm never going to have any more fun. I'm never going to have any friends. Uh, that's the top two off the top of the list, and I'll have to have more content than that if I'm going to actually write a book, which I ain't. But thank you all for coming tonight, man, and sharing this. And I like Shane said, one thing I like about this is it does like document it. You can come back and listen to it later and remember what happened. And memories do slip, right? And it's the whole reason behind my sponsor telling me to make my miracle list a long time ago. He said, this stuff will slip from your mind if you don't write it down. And I have even a better medium today to actually record it and videotape it and document it, or if for nothing else, my own posterity. I can come back and look at this stuff and remember what I did someday. Who the fuck knows? We're not all gonna be here, and we've left this thumbprint on here, and more importantly than that, as with the podcast, and I'm in the IM12 studio right now, so folks that may have bumped into this, you check out IM12 on YouTube too. We talk about recovery. We talk about doing it, air quotes, right, and getting the most juice out of this thing called recovery. And somehow, some way, higher power has given us vehicles to be able to do that, to squeeze every bit of juice out of this thing as we possibly can. Get this one trip on this big blue marble, man, and as I say, the people that like are laying on their deathbeds, they're rarely complaining about the things they did. They're usually resentful. They're usually regretful about the things they didn't do. And we do stuff. So appreciate it. Hitting about 2 hours, maybe just a little short. That's about exactly the right time. I always worry about like whether if these podcasts will be a uh, herding cats kind of thing or what, but it always seems to work out because the skids seem to always be greased in our lives, and you guys have done a hell of a job carrying the message of recovery and carrying this message that's, as far as I know, fairly specific to the spiritual underground and how we go about doing recovery. So let's just sign off and we will get out of here. I'm Dan. I'm an alcoholic. Oh.
An alcoholic. Peace out.
Brian Alcoholic out.
John Alcoholic out.
Derek alcoholic. Toodles.
Travis, alcoholic. Love you guys.
Cody, alcoholic, a hoe.
Aho. Is that everybody? So I'll finish the podcast with two things. As I already said, if you're not having a blast in your recovery, you're not doing it right. And I just want to thank everybody out there for allowing me and this awesome group of men to participate in our recoveries in this manner tonight. Peace out.